Welcome to Breaking the Silence, the podcast where real conversations meet real healing. We're your hosts, Raynea and Kelli, two women who know what it's like to walk through loss, face hard truths, and come out stronger on the other side. Together, we're breaking down walls, sharing stories, and talking openly about everything from grief and healing to love, faith, and relationships. This is a safe space for laughter, honesty, and those Me Too moments that remind us we're not alone. So grab a cup of coffee, pull up a chair, and let's journey through life together. Hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome to Breaking the Silence. I am so excited to jump into a brand new month with you and the topics that Kelli and I will be talking about this month. But before we jump into it, there's just a couple things I wanted to let you know real quick and just ask for your grace in this process. So first of all, if you follow Kelli and I on social media, then you know that we had a little bit of we'll call it a fiasco, I guess, not too long ago. We had, or I should say I thought that I hit record and we recorded 2 episodes, and only to get to the end of it, and when I went to hit the stop recording button, it actually started recording. So that was the first of our fun, and all is good, all is well. I laughed about it. But besides that, we were also in the midst of, Kelli had gotten a new microphone, and we were setting up a new recording studio platform. Anyways, there have been some technical difficulties along the way. So I ask for your grace with us and patience, even as we jump into this new episode here today. The sound might not be perfect, so some grace there. I feel like it is still needs to be shared, and now we've got all the bugs worked out, I think. So next week it will be amazing, but I just at least wanted to give you a heads up and just ask for a little bit of grace there in it. So with that said, let's jump into this new episode. Hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome to Breaking the Silence. I'm Raynea.
And I'm Kelli.
So, Kelli, I feel like we sort of haven't talked here very much the past few days. Really maybe the past 4 days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How was your trip?
My trip was amazing. I feel very grateful that I went. I almost didn't go because my connecting flight was in Denver, and who knew there'd be a snowstorm in March in Denver? Who knew, right?
There was?
Yeah. So I was supposed to leave at 12:10, then it got moved to 12:30, and then it got moved to 1:30, and it wasn't super bad there. It had been snowing, but I guess they have to keep the runway clear and stuff, so they could only let so many planes come in. But other than that, it was great. I was really glad I got to celebrate my son for his birthday, which is actually today. So
happy birthday to, I don't know if you want me to say his name, so I won't. Happy birthday. How, even though this will come out in next month, right, but I knew it. Hold on. It's starting to rain. We're getting a storm here.
Oh, this weather is crazy. Ohio weather.
Okay. So slight interruption there. So did it pour down rain for you today? It did. Yes. Here, bad.
It was pouring. Yeah, I felt so bad for people coming into work. They were soaked. You couldn't use it. It was so windy. You couldn't even use an umbrella. So I know. Gross. At least it's not snow.
Well, You know what? Even though, so this sort of is like a perfect segue, as a matter of fact, because April showers, which is when this will come out, right? April showers bring May flowers. And so even though this isn't technically April when this is recorded, this is for April. Right. So anyways, I feel like April is going to be such an important month around here too, like just the conversations and what we'll be talking about. Like, I think we'll be talking about motherhood and identity, blended families, and something that I feel like, and I know I say this a lot, I feel like, but that's okay, because really I do think some of the things we talk about are the things that people don't talk enough about, you know? And that's what happens. It's what happens when motherhood doesn't look like the fairy tale that you imagined.
Yeah, because for so many of us, it really didn't.
And I think that seems like the perfect place to start then, you know? So I think a lot of us grew up with this image. You fall in love, you build a home, you raise babies together, and then you grow old side by side, sitting like on your rocking chair, in your rocking chairs on the front porch, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And then motherhood looks joyful and supported. You're tired, but fulfilled. And then you're stretched, but secure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like, I think you think it's just going to be perfect. Dinner's always going to be on the table, on the table at the perfect time, like right at 5 o'clock or whatever. And the laundry is always magically done.
Right. Everybody's going to like dinner. Right.
Yes.
Nobody's crying in the bathroom.
Right.
Yeah. And if they are, it's like one cinematic tear with just perfect lighting.
Exactly. Not mascara halfway down your face while you are GPTing how to emotionally regulate while making tacos.
Right. Yeah, that part never made the brochure, right?
It definitely did in my brochure. I don't know about yours, but not mine. That was not in there. There was no part for sign me up for that, you know? And for some women, parts of that picture are true. But for so many of us listening here, motherhood also included things we never saw coming, you know? Loss, divorce, betrayal, blended families, financial fear, you know, becoming both mom and dad overnight. That wasn't the fairy tale.
Right.
I think it's important to make this part clear up front before we go any further, and also just gently, because you can love your children with your whole heart and still grieve the way motherhood unfolded. It doesn't mean you don't love them. I was actually thinking about this even today, like even to say that, I think that can sometimes make people feel bad. Like, I should be grieving how motherhood turned out for me. Yeah. Just like my kids can grieve how it turned out for them with their parents, you know? That doesn't mean that they don't love me with their whole heart.
Right.
But that also means, man, they really wish that they had both parents there, that they did have their dad there to come to the games, or my younger ones, you know, to even teach them more about ball or whatever, you know? So
yeah, absolutely.
I think it's okay for us to normalize it. So anyways, for me, like, there were days after Dave died where the house would, you know, finally go quiet. And once the kids were, you know, off to school, and I would sit down at my dining room table, and not even crying like loudly anymore, just exhausted. And I remember staring at like the things that needed done, the list. I make the list of all my things I needed to do, calling the attorney, calling the financial planner, dealing with life insurance, the Social Security, just all the phone calls and appointments that needed done. And thinking, I don't know how to do this by myself, not just financially, but emotionally, physically, even spiritually, I wasn't just grieving Dave.
Right.
I was grieving the version of motherhood where I wasn't carrying it alone.
And that's such an important distinction, because you weren't grieving your kids, you were grieving the partnership.
Yes, exactly. And I know, Kelli, that you know this too. Like, you had years that you were carrying all the responsibilities of your son on your own.
Yeah.
And I think so many women feel guilty for that grief over the loss of partnership. But you can grieve. You can grieve while loving your children, deeply loving them. And I know I said that before, but I want to make that so clear. You can still mourn the support you thought you'd have.
And it doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. And it makes you honest with yourself.
And I think honesty really is where it starts, for so many things. I mean, really, until we're honest about it and really can self-reflect on those things, that's where we really can be like, oh, wow, like I never really thought of it like that, And when the fairy tale falls apart, survival mode kicks in fast. You don't even have time to process. You just perform, I think about, and I don't know if we talked about this. I'm trying to think. I don't think we did. I don't think we talked about this in last month. Anyways, we're going to talk about it again. And if we did, then that means somebody needs to rehear it or whatever, or I need to talk about it again. I don't know. But even in like that whole, like having time to process things, like when we got Brian's diagnosis, we didn't have time to, really process things before we were moving on to the next thing, and you're just doing all the things. Like we got the diagnosis, and before we knew it, like things were just changing so fast. And I do think that then I very much, and I think other moms can too, you get caught in that performing and doing because you just have to, right?
Right.
Like,
yeah, you don't have another choice.
Right. It's like, I mean, it literally was like we got the diagnosis, and within 2 weeks, things were just changing so fast. You're learning how to do an NG tube, and you're learning how to do G tube feedings, and, just all the changes. And so anyways, I think there absolutely is that piece of just like performing and doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And your performance feels safer than vulnerability too.
I was thinking about that today too. That vulnerability, man. So then we become the strong one, right? The stable one. We become the provider. And I know I can feel this, like the glue of our family, even when you don't feel like it, you become it. You become the glue and all that. And somewhere along the way, then we stop asking, who am I? And instead start asking, what needs done next? Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I've mentioned this before too. So it felt like the end of like a series when my son went on to college, and then I was moving in with Tom, and we were, so Hayden was going on to college. I was moving in with Tom, and I just remember shutting the door to our apartment, our double, and turning the key. And it was almost like the series had ended. And I just said to myself, we made it. We did it. We did it. I felt safe and secure, and like, he was going on to college and that was his path. I now was moving in with Tom. We were planning on getting married and having that partnership. And it was just like, I felt like, it was, I guess like just a sense of pride. I didn't do it alone. Of course I had God, I had Tom, I had family and friends and support. And even my son was, such good support. It really takes a village with everything. But anyway, I just remember thinking, we did it. We didn't, because I was just, I think, so afraid to fail. Like all the responsibility was on me. Make sure the electric's, paid, the rent, just everything, that I fed us, and it was just like, thank you, Lord. But
that makes so much sense, because I think even over the past 4 years, like when Dave passed, just that fear of like, how on earth am I ever going to do this? How am I going to do the next 9 years by myself, on my own? And as like, at first it was just like, we made it through the first year. You're at the 1-year anniversary of Dave passing and thinking, wow, we did it for a year, we made it. And then it was, as the oldest of the 4 that were still at home, as he graduated high school. And then it was the next one graduated. And so now I'm looking and like, wow, now we're 4 years out. We've made it 4 years. 2 have graduated high school. I've got another one that, is coming up on his senior year. And so I totally get what you're saying of like, as each step of that, I thought, how are we ever going to do? How am I ever going to do 9 years, Like, oh my goodness, like we're like halfway there and we're doing it and we're making it. And it's not perfect. If anybody that's close to me knows it's messy, it's imperfect there, but it's life and it's beautiful, and I was sitting here today as I was working even and looking at the pictures of my kids and just all of it and thinking, man, I'm going to get emotional today. I don't know why. All of a sudden, like just thinking, gosh, like I have the most beautiful family. I'm so thankful for it. And isn't it interesting that we can look and in so much hard, still look and say, gosh, it's been a beautiful life,
Absolutely. Yeah, because you just think, and again, I just said this, and I know my heart. God knows my heart, and I'm not trying to discount anybody. But even when I went through that divorce, and I felt like so much of, I don't want to say my identity, but just security was within that marriage. So it was kind of like, what is going to happen to Hayden? All these milestones, da, 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 da. And and I think that's when I locked the door. I was like, yes, kid, we did it. We did it. You on your own accord, you persevered, you're, and it was just like, just a feeling of like, and all that hurt and, doubt, or, you just look back and you're like, and again, I'd give all glory to God. It was him, but, just if you down to me and my son, I was like, we did it. God just turned everything, you always say beauty for ashes. And I just keep seeing that unfold. So I guess kind of made me going off topic a little bit. So I guess for that, like my testimony for anybody that's listening, just to be like, even though it seems hard now and there are doubts and it is scary, when you see this beautiful life unfold like this, even though it wasn't perfect, it's not what you planned. It's not what any of us, I didn't ask for it. He didn't ask for it. You didn't ask for, what happened to you guys. But, just God's hand in it all is like, yeah, we did it. We did it.
Absolutely. And I think God gives you the strength that you need, right?
But on the flip side of that, when everybody praises us for being strong, you're so strong. I don't know how you did it. Like, you're amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, that definitely, I think, can be in some ways a dangerous part, And I remember that so much. I remember so many times because I was very like vocal with sharing our story about Brian and Dave, on social media. That was sort of a way of for one, me processing, I think, some of my grief, and just the whole navigating all of it. And then also like, hey, if I can share my story and help someone else along the way, then there's purpose in it, you know? And because so many people don't know how to put words to what they're feeling or experiencing. And I'm like, okay, then I will put words to it. And not that I'm saying I do it amazing like all the time, like even like that whole talking about that whole vulnerable piece. Sometimes vulnerability is very hard for me too, right? That is like I am a work in process of learning ways to even be more vulnerable and all those things. But anyways, so like I can remember because of me being so vocal, people messaging me and stuff and, you know, just saying those exact things to me of like, you are so strong, like you're just amazing or whatever. And inside, I was thinking, I don't feel strong. I feel tired. Like I just feel exhausted. There's times that I've messaged you or texted you or other friends and just even telling like, I'm just really tired. I'm like tapped out, you know?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And you know, I know that, and I even have people even acknowledge that for me, especially in the very beginning, like they would message me and tell me how strong I was. And at the same time say, I know that you probably don't feel strong, but you really are. And that absolutely is all God. Like he for sure gave me the strength to get through each day, you know? So anyways, and it's funny you talking about, your identity a little bit ago. I think that's important for us to for sure talk about this month and even more so, you know, like I feel like, well, I know we will. We're going, I was working on the podcast for later in the month and I know that we'll be talking more about the identity piece of who am I, you know? So I think that there comes a moment, especially in midlife, where that question does start whispering to us, you know, like, who am I outside of who everyone needs me to be?
And that question can seem really scary at first.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Because if you stop being needed the same way, who are you?
Yeah, absolutely. But that's not a breakdown.
It's definitely not. It is an awakening. And that is such a beautiful thing. I was actually, I thought about a lot today, let me tell you. That was another thing. I was sitting here just looking out the window today as I was working on notes and things for the upcoming episodes in April and the who am I part of it. And just thinking about that awakening and when that happened for me, you know, and it really is a beautiful thing. It really is. So anyways, I'm excited for us to later on this month get into that and talk more about it. But anyways, it is. The awakening is absolutely a beautiful thing.
Right. And reclaiming yourself doesn't mean that you love your kids any less.
And I think that is so important for women to hear, you know? I think it means you go to the concert and you sing at the top of your lungs, even if your teenager says you're embarrassing.
Yeah, which we know happens. I think might be video proof of that.
That's right. If you follow me on social media, it's not, I don't think that video is on your page, but yes, if you follow me on social media, it's for sure there. So yes, apparently I'm very embarrassing.
But in a beautiful way.
That's okay. I'm good with it. Like, I am so good. I even went to another concert with my daughter-in-law and I was like, hey, you're going to get to find out like what Brody's talking about. And she's like, oh, I don't even care at all. Like, I'm like, if you're not at a concert singing at the top of your lungs and all that, what are you even doing really? Like, seriously,
Right.
like, this is
Right.
where you get to do it. And it was so funny because they even said at one point, aren't you so glad that it is so loud in here so that you can sing as loud as you want and nobody hears? And I was thinking, yes, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. So motherhood does not have to be the place you disappear. It can be the place that you deepen. But only if you remember you as a whole woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not just the provider, not just a fixer, not just the strong one, a whole woman. It is okay to be mom and fill in your name. Like, it is okay for it to be like, I am mom and I'm also Raynea, you know, and that you're mom and that you're also Kelli.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is super important to really grasp that, and that we can have multiple pieces of us, you know? I don't know if pieces is the right word.
Yeah.
Yeah, multiple roles and be a complete and whole woman.
Right.
So well, let me ask you this before we wrap this up. Is there anything that you want to share, Kelli?
This was on my mind, but I guess people are in different stages of that. I guess I'm putting myself in that. And I did have my son later in life, but you had your kids early. And I think about this because I think sometimes you are only yourself for a short period of time, depending on when you have your kids. I'll just talk about you because you had your kids young. My mom had me young. So you really haven't even become your own person per se. And then you're thrown in, well, I won't say thrown in, chose the role of mother and wife at a young age. And then, for lack of better words, played that part for so long now, longer than you were ever just yourself before you even knew yourself, right? And then how each stage changes, like even now, it's almost like, well, my kids, my son and my stepchildren are adults now. They take care of themselves. So we're even in a different role. So it's kind of like finding yourself again, but you're like, I mean, I know who I am, but like to know who you are, because again, up to teenage years and then those years, does that make sense? So it's like, does that make sense?
Yes, it makes complete sense. And it's so funny that you're even saying this, because this is another thing I was thinking about today as I was working on the episodes for later this month, and I was thinking about who I was before, like when we're talking about identity and who I am and all that, who I was before I had kids. And it's so funny that you're saying this right now, because I was thinking, I don't know who I was before I had kids, because I had kids so young, right?
Yeah.
Like, I have spent more years being a mom than I have not being a mom. I've been a mom for 36 years now. My whole adult life has been being a mom. So that really was like, you just saying that right now, and just so maybe people don't have that to go back to, of like, who was I, what was I interested in before I had kids, Like, you might be able to answer that, because you had yours later.
Yeah.
But my whole adult life was that. So I think that if you started young, and maybe it's that you don't know who you were before you had kids. Maybe it's now you get to discover who you are, Like, what does interest me now? Like, right now, I think that's exactly what I'm doing, Right now, I'm in my whole concert era.
Yeah.
I'm like going to concerts like crazy. I pretty much have a concert every single month. And and that's okay. Like, discover the things you love. Like, it might be trying new and different things. And again, we don't need to go too deep into that, because we will talk about that later this month. But I think that's interesting that you even brought that up, because, yeah, I was just thinking about that earlier today. Alrighty, so before we close, I do want to speak directly to the mom that feels tired. If you're carrying more than you ever thought you would, if you're constantly pouring out and rarely feeling poured into, I know what that feels like. And one of the things I realized over the past few years is that sometimes we don't need another strategy. We need a moment to feel held, not needed, not producing, not solving, just held. And so I created something simple, and it's called 10 Minutes to Feel Held, if I can speak. And it is a guided prayer and reflection where you don't have to be strong. You don't have to perform. You just get to sit with God and let Him hold the parts of you that are tired.
And I love that it's short, because let's be honest, most moms don't have like 45 minutes just lying around, just some spare time.
Exactly. And I think it's very realistic. You can do it in your car. You can do it before bed, even in the bathroom, if that's the only quiet place that you have. If today's conversation stirred something in you, this might be your next gentle step, And this is my gift to you. So you can find the link in the show notes if you want to check it out. It'll be there waiting for you. So here's what we want to leave you with. Where has your worth become tied to what you provide?
Yeah. And who might you be if you untied it?
Oh, that's a beautiful thing too when we work at untying it and finding out. So we're going to be digging deeper this month into that. Next week, we're going to be talking about attachment and blended families.
And that one's going to be honest.
Yes, and it will be such a good conversation. So if this episode spoke to you, please share it with another woman who is mothering through something hard.
And if you've never left a review, it helps more women to actually find this space.
So until next week, we send you off with so much love. Thank you for spending time with us on Breaking the Silence. We hope today's conversation brought you comfort, hope, and maybe even a little laughter. Because healing doesn't have to happen alone. If this episode spoke to you, share it with someone who might need it too. And be sure to subscribe so that you do not miss a moment with Kelli and I. Until next time, remember, you're not alone, and there's always space for you here.